He is a software developer, author, keynote speaker, algorithmist, honorary IBM Cloud Advisor, and YouTuber. He's also only 12 years old. He had his first iOS app, Tables, accepted when he was 9 years old. Since then, he has created apps such as the youth-focused I Can, We Can, and TID Volt, just to name a few. Members of the audience, here's Tanmay Bakshi for you.
So hello there and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Tanmay Bakshi and this time we're going to be going over an entirely new subject, IBM Watson. And this time we're going to be going over part 2 of my natural language classifier service tutorial for Bluemix. This time we're going to be going over the IBM Watson natural language classifier in Bluemix. And this time we're going to be going over using the Nuance speech kit in Swift with iOS. Namaste Bangalore, and especially hello to the people sitting on the edges and those watching via the live stream. Hello, my name is Tanmay Bakshi. I'm 12 years old. I'm in the 7th grade, and I live just outside of Toronto in Brampton, Canada. I am a software developer, IBM Honorary Cloud Advisor, author, algorithmist, keynote speaker, and YouTuber. I know that sounds like a lot, but to sum it all up, I love to share my knowledge. Now, in fact, I wasn't born as a software developer or an author. It actually took me 7 years of dedication, and my journey towards coding started when I was just 5 years old. Now, as I said, I love to share my knowledge. But through which media do I love to share my knowledge? Well, here's a mini list of them. In fact, I love to share my knowledge, and so I've written a book, finally. It's called Hello Swift, iOS App Programming for Kids and Other Beginners. As you can tell by the subtitle, it's going to be a book for kids and other beginners to learn iOS app development through Swift from scratch. Currently, the first 2 chapters are available online. You can pre-order it, and right as it's actually released, you will be getting a hard copy in the mail. Continuing, though, I also do have a wish list, and some of the things from them, most notably are, I'd like to visit the Taj Mahal, specifically because it's a wonder of the world, visit some IITs, some of the best tech schools in the world, get my book signed by Amitabh Bachchan, and help and reach out to at least 100,000 aspiring coders. I know that sounds like a lot, but I promise I will try my best to do that. Also, getting back to the point, here are some IBM Watson APIs I've been working with. They are most notably the natural language classifier, alchemy language, trade-off analytics, tone analyzer, and retrieve and rank. But now, I'm going to be getting into the question that I know is burning a hole in all of your minds. Why in the world am I here? Well, it's because of one of my applications, Ask Tanmay, an NLQA system. Well, Ask Tanmay is not just any NLQA system. It's the world's first NLQA system to be powered by IBM Watson's cognitive capabilities. In fact, Ask Tanmay would not exist without IBM Watson. You could say that Ask Tanmay's lifeline would be IBM Watson. Now, if you were at IBM Interconnect 2016, you know that I was demoing and keynoting Ask Tanmay there as well. And if you're wondering what I've updated in these 4 months, well, there's a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. First of all, for those of you who are not at Interconnect, what is Ask Tanmay? Well, Ask Tanmay is an NLQA system, meaning Natural Language Question Answering System. It leverages IBM Watson's cognitive capabilities, and it is web-based. What does this mean? Well, simply put, All the data that Ask Tanmay receives to answer your questions is live from the internet. It's unlike IBM Watson, that when it was playing Jeopardy, actually stored all of its data locally. And so basically, Ask Tanmay's information and answers will change with the current trends. For example, if a company's CEO changes, Ask Tanmay's answer to a question of that sort will also change. Now, why did I develop Ask Tanmay in the first place? Well, a key factor was because I was bored on a weekend, but it's also because I was intrigued by IBM Watson and how it was able to play Jeopardy and win against the two best human competitors. Also, the same night, I had stumbled upon Ask MSR, which is an architecture of an algorithm that Microsoft built in 2002 to answer people's questions. It was, as well, an NLQI system. So you know what? I thought, why not plug in IBM Watson? And you know what? I built upon the ancient ruins. Continuing, here's a flowchart of how Ask Tanmay actually works. This is essentially the architecture of the algorithm. Now, if you saw my earlier version of the algorithm, you can see some visible differences. However, I will be getting into that very soon. First, though, I'd like to get into the algorithm. First of all, the input stage. The input stage of the algorithm allows users to give Ask Tanmay their questions, one of the most essential steps, obviously. Next, the ATD, or Answer Type Detection step. This step will figure out what the user's asking for. Are they asking for a person, an organization, or a location? This will heavily improve the accuracy in the next few steps. This uses the IBM Watson Natural Language Classifier service to see if you're asking for a type of answer. Next, the search engine results summary extraction phase, or as I like to abbreviate it since that's extremely long, SERSE. Now this is a research phase. Just like a human, it will go to Google, but it could use any other search engine or even a mixture. So it's going to go to some sort of search engine, in this case Google, and it's going to find documents to find answers from. Just like a human, however, a visible difference between a human's research phase and Ask Tanmay's is that a human could take days, weeks, months to do its research phase. However, Ask Tanmay can analyze 5 pages of search engine results in around 3 seconds. Next, the candidate answer generation phase. This phase will generate hypotheses as to what the correct answer could be. Now, this will generate around 100 possible answers to choose from. Now, I know that sounds like a lot. However, most of these are either incorrect, because at the end we only choose 5 anyway, or they're duplicates of other answers with some extra characters like a space or maybe a dash. And so in order to filter out that garbage, I use IBM Watson's Alchemy language service. In this case, in the candidate answer filtering and scoring step, or as I like to abbreviate it, the CAFS step, this is essentially the brain of the process, okay? It will filter around 100 candidate answers to nearly 15 candidate answers, which is a huge improvement. And now it's way easier to choose the correct answer. Now again, this could be 1,000 candidates to 100. It could be as many as you want. It all depends on the quantity and the quality of the data given. I'm just saying on average, it has around 100 candidates to choose from, and it gets 15 at the end. Now, the CAFS step is actually a parent step. It contains 5 steps in it. I know these are only 4, but let me go over them. Named entity recognition, full name scoring, then duplicate candidate merging, and another one that I'm currently working on, n-gram tiling, and of course, query answer removal. Next, the final answer ranking and comparative confidence calculation. In this step, I rank each answer from highest score to lowest score, and then I calculate the comparative confidence of the answer. If you're wondering what comparative confidence is, well, simply, Ask Tanmay does not tell you how confident it is about an answer. It'll tell you how probable this answer is to be correct over the other 4 answers it's given you, or 3 or 2 or 1. And then finally, the output stage, which is scientifically proven to be the user's favorite step. All right, so currently, the person, organization, and location answer types have been implemented, meaning you can ask any of these questions. For example, you can ask, who is the CEO of a company? That would be a person question. Or you could say, which company creates so-and-so product as an organization question. Or you could even say, where is so-and-so building as a location question. Also, Ask Tanmay currently has a 97% average accuracy, and that brings me to my next point. Let's go over a demo of Ask Tanmay now. Switch over to my iPhone, where I'm going to be showing you a demo of Ask Tanmay. All right, so as you can see, I'm on my iPhone here running the iOS 10 beta. And now if I go into the application here, this is sort of the beta interface or GUI or visual interface of Ask Tanmay. Now I can ask this a question. For example, who is the lead developer of the God, I messed up. Who is the lead developer of the Apple Swift programming language? All right, so now as you can see, I've asked it a question. Now, essentially what I've done is I've used the perfect library for Swift, and I have essentially REST API for Swift, REST API for Ask Tanmay exposed on the internet. And so using that REST API, the iOS end can actually contact that and get JSON of the actual answers and their comparative confidence. And so
I am 43% confident that Chris Latner is the correct answer.
Which is correct. All right. I'll ask it one more question, why not? And let's say, which CPU manufacturer is the most widely known? Now, quite obviously, this is Intel, but let's see if it's able to get that. Again, this is going over to the REST API that I've exposed for Ask Tanmay. Then it contacts the command line interface, which gives it the answers. A lot of tweets happening right now. And then right as that's done, it will be able to give us most probably the correct answer, which is Intel. Now again, this is an organization question because Intel is counted as an organization.
I am 56% confident that Intel is the correct answer.
Which it is. Let's switch over to my Mac now. My Mac. Perfect. Continuing. Now I have 4 more announcements to make about Ask Tanmay about its updates. So the location answer type was one of the announcements, but I've already told you about that, so now there's only 4. First of all, I've made the switch from relationship extraction to alchemy language. So now this gives a much more stability with Ask Tanmay since relationship extraction was in beta. Continuing, I'm also converting Ask Tanmay from Python and Java to Swift. Currently, Ask Tanmay is 70% Swift, 20% Java, and 10% Python code, and I'm working on porting it all to Swift. Now, another great part about this is that Ask Tanmay is, first of all, working on Mac OS X, now called by Apple Mac OS. It also runs on Linux, because Swift is open source. Now, if you're wondering what I've left that little gap for, I mean, Swift doesn't run on Linux. Swift doesn't run on Windows. Well, now it does, because now Ask Tanmay is completely cross-platform as well. The reason this happens is because actually Microsoft is releasing an anniversary update for Windows 10. And so basically they're calling this the Redstone update, and essentially they have a new feature called Bash for Windows. They've partnered with Canonical, and basically, Linux kernel calls get converted to Windows kernel calls, and so you can run Bash programs or Ubuntu 14.04 programs on Windows. It's really neat, you should check that out. But now Swift also runs on Windows as well, meaning Ask Tanmay runs there too. Continuing, I've also created a brand new SATD, which is a core step of Ask Tanmay. Now, again, this is actually one of the most major updates. And so basically, this is called specific answer type detection. And essentially, what's going to happen is, let's say ATD chooses something like location. Instead of just stopping at location and saying, hey, they only asked for a location, SATD will use the IBM Watson natural language classifier service in order to deeply narrow down and say, hey, are they looking for a city, a country, or a continent, or a state maybe? And so that's what SATD does. And so you know what? Let me show you a quick demo of that in action. Let's go to my iPhone. As you can see, we have the same old question open, but now let me ask it something like, where is the Taj Mahal? All right, so now I've asked it a pretty simple question. This could give me anything, a city, a country, or a continent. It would be technically correct, because I just asked for something generic. I didn't specifically want a city or a country or a state. I just asked where is something. And so Ask Tanmay is free to return to me anything, and I will take it as correct. So again, this is going to access the REST API, which will run...
I am 45% confident that Agra is the correct answer.
Which is the city it's in. That's correct. However, another thing. What if I wanted specifically the country? Let me ask that question. In which country is the Taj Mahal? Now again, this is going to look specifically for a country. However, with an older version of Ask Tanmay, this wouldn't have worked because it's only looking for a location then. And so Agra appears many more times than India, and so it's still going to choose Agra as the correct answer. However, with SATD and Alchemy Language, I'm able to further narrow that down and completely ignore Agra and only look at India. And so in just a second...
I am 79% confident that India is the correct answer.
India, which is the correct answer. Back to my Mac now. My Mac. Great. In fact, Ask Tanmay is also going to be going open source within the next few minutes. I'm very impatient to share my knowledge with you, and I'm sure everybody else is impatient to see the source code of Ask Tanmay and use it for themselves. And so I decided, why wait till early 2017 when I can do that right now? In fact, let's get to that right now. I'm going to go over to my GitHub repository for Ask Tanmay and make it public. And Ask Tanmay is now open source. Continuing though, just before I go today, I'd just like to say, how can Ask Tanmay benefit the developer community and aspiring coders? Well, first of all, Ask Tanmay is a launchpad for developers to start off of if they'd like to build their own QA systems on their own data. Also, Ask Tanmay makes heavy use of IBM Watson. That's actually sort of the brain of Ask Tanmay, but it's implemented in an extremely simple way. And because it's implemented in an extremely simple way, aspiring Watson API learners or people who are trying to learn things like machine learning or things like that, like cognitive computing, can really use this as a learning resource. Also, Ask Tanmay is 70% Swift, 20% Java, and 10% Python code. And so pretty much any developer can use this to start off of as a learning resource. Also, Ask Tanmay is a building block in the world of AI, and Watson makes it so that people without a PhD can use machine learning. But Ask Tanmay's goal is to make it so that people without a PhD can build their own QA systems, and it uses IBM Watson. Again, one more thing, it simplified that Watson provides cognitive as a service. It's really simple to use cognitive computing now. However, Ask Tanmay's goal will be to provide QA systems as a service, and it's going to be extremely simple to use as well. And yeah, that brings me to the next point. I also have a sort of grand challenge for Ask Tanmay, which is, you know how Watson was able to play Jeopardy with Alex Trebek to sort of show the power of cognitive computing? Well, I'm using IBM Watson, so my grand challenge is for Ask Tanmay to play KBC with Amitabh Bachchan. And that's going to be it for my keynote and demo today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much, specifically to Sandy Carter and IBM India for making this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
Kanwan.
also, if you'd like to
audience has a few questions for you. So the first question we've got is, we've heard of work-life balance. How do you manage your code-life balance?
Well, basically, first of all, I'd just like to start off with a note that I started coding when I was 5, as I told you. Now, when I was 5, I didn't really have much to do. So I would watch my dad programming all day, pretty much. And so, that really fascinated me as to how a computer could answer an addition problem, or it could display hello world, or it could display my name. And so, I got into programming. My dad helped me out. But then I started using the internet as a learning resource to actually learn more languages like C and VB. However, what happened, when I was 5 years old, I didn't really understand the concept of a job, and I thought the computer was really just another toy. So coding is fun for me. It's what I do in my break time. And so, coding isn't really work for me. And also, since I'm homeschooled, 7th grade homeschooled, I really have a bit more flexibility with my schedule. And I can mix things from my sort of like, let's say, math homework with my computer programming. And so let's say I have math homework to find the LCM and GCF2 numbers, or lots of questions. What I can do is I can actually create an algorithm and an iOS app for myself that can find the LCM and GCF2 numbers, all right? And so I've completed my math homework, and I've done sort of coding as a break or as fun.
So we have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
You started coding when you were 5 years old.
Yes.
So what do you see yourself doing when you're 15?
Well, mainly it is that I'd like to continue to do what I'm currently doing and just, keep getting better at it. I'm going to write more books as an author, specifically one on, machine learning and cognitive computing and IBM Watson in general, and how IBM Watson makes it really easy to use cognitive as a service and stuff like that. Of course, continuing to do software development, again, specifically with cognitive. In fact, I have a few applications lined up, specifically business-minded first. And so one of those ideas is basically I want to create an application that will essentially allow a business to sort of analyze social media platforms and see how many percentage of their users do not and how many percent of users do like their product. And they can even see what their customer needs are. They can see sort of what types of customers like their product, what types don't, and they can, let's say, change their target audience in a marketing campaign. This helps users in the business. The business has more sales, and the users get the product they're looking for. And so, that's one software development sort of thing I'm working on. Again, keynote speaking is a nice hobby of mine. And of course, sharing my knowledge through my YouTube channel.
And the last question for you.
Yes.
What is the next level of Watson that you vision, and what could it possibly do?
Excuse me, what did you say?
What is the next level of Watson that you envision, and what could it possibly do?
Well, to be honest, that's actually a bit hard to imagine because Watson is currently a set of cognitive as a service sort of APIs. Really, what I think is just continuing to create more and more powerful APIs and improving on the ones that are currently existing. I know speech-to-text is extremely accurate, but making that a bit more accurate maybe, text-to-speech, adding a few more expressions to it, just in general, improving on the APIs that currently exist. And of course, one thing that I've wanted for a long time, which is sort of like a personal request, I guess you could say, of mine, is adding a question and answering API. That would be great. Actually, when I was originally creating Ask-Tanmay, the reason I really wanted to create it was because Watson didn't provide a question answering system sort of API to the public, so I just wanted to create something like that for people. Now, of course, since it's open source, everybody can use it.
Thank you, Tanmay. Let's give it up for Tanmay Bakshi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.